What is up, YouTube? Herozin here, and what we are looking at here is a beautiful 116 pink male Moza. And so we're going to be taming this bad boy up today. And so there's my itchy there, and what you're gonna probably need, or I would suggest having, is a base underwater. I would not suggest using the caves. That's a lot more work than needed. You don't have to build a full base like I have set up. Well, mine's not even a full base, I won't even say that. But you don't have to build something gigantic, huge, unneeded. But I would suggest a pin of some sort, whether it be just like a pillar pin with some ceilings on top, or a gate pin, which is what I'm using, but it doesn't even have to be a full pin. Like, you could just do a row of foundations all around, just throw a pillar, or not pillars, well, you're gonna need pillars for the ceiling, but throw some gates down, then throw some pillars down, and then put the pillar or ceilings on the pillars, and just something to put the thing in. It's quite big. So now, reasons for this: you're not gonna need it because things don't naturally attack your Moza, unlike suicidal anglerfish right there, but they won't attack your Moza. But if you're going to be next to your Moza, you're going to be underwater for a period of time, since it is about a 4-hour tame, and well, at least at 116 and 120 it's a 4-hour tame. But since you're going to be next to it for a little bit of time, you're going to need some place to be secure, so when things come up to attack you, they don't actually attack your Moza, and things will attack you. Literally everything besides an itchy and your little swimming fish are going to attack you. So definitely want some sort of safe area. Now, and also a pin makes the tranking process easier. So right now I'm just trying to pull the Moza back to my base. It took a little bit of time. As you can see there, gathered some friends along the way, and decided that it would stop following me here and there. And now, as far as Moza goes, they are faster than plesio's, so it is easier to kite them to somewhere you want to go. The only real issue is when you reach the height limit, the Moza, like the plesio, wants to go back to a lower depth in the water. So you're gonna need to get it up and over mountains at certain points, depending on where it spawns. Since the way is not all clear along the flat bottom, there are mountains sticking out in different directions, and you have vertical things reaching up to the surface. And so, but they don't go all the way up in most areas, unless you're around the island areas, but even then it doesn't go all the way up unless it's the island itself. But they can be a little bit tricky to get either a Moza or a plesio up and over those certain points. And at one point in the video, I tried to take it through the ravine and the northeast part of the island, right, the Carnal Island ravine next to the island, and that ended up not working because when I tried to pull it through, it got halfway, and then that was the point where we ascended too high and it refused to go any further without going back down. So I had to lead it around the long way, and that's where you saw me pick up that Syndic Quetzalcoatl from the red underwater drop. And so I ended up getting it back to my base with some effort, but again, they are faster than plesio, so they're not really that tough to pull, so it shouldn't be too hard to get it to wherever you have your pin set up. I did build my pin in the northwest part of the island in the ice area, just because I liked it there. It wasn't really a specific spot or reason for that spot, but it ends up being a good spot for my base. It allowed me to tame some plesios. Well, at that point I had 4 plesios. Did end up losing one to a glitch. Anyway, it's arc. That is to be expected. But we should be approaching my base pretty soon now. As soon as ink gets there. Now, so I did find a blue 104 Moza that I was going to tame. And I got it back to my base, and I began the tranking process, and like a terrible bad player, I overshot it, and it ended up dying, which was kind of disappointing, but oh well. So on this one, I decided that because it just so happened that another Moza with the same color was falling in, I was getting them confused with each other, and so I ended up pulling both of them, but luckily one was a female and the one I wanted was a male, so I got the mate boost, which ended up probably helping me with the tranking process, as this one I didn't overshoot like a terrible player. Anyway, so yeah, after that I got them both into the pen, which my pen, as we see there, is big enough for both of them, and just pulled them in. As you can see there, I have it set up where it's just a box pen, and they are, the outer gates are just open where you could freely go in and out of them, but that inner gate towards the inner part, I have put pillars from the bottom to the top in the center. That way something like an itchy could can swim through it, and something big like a plesio or a Moza cannot. And so then you just go out the back entrance that you should have, and then go to the front, close the gate, and then there you go. It should be trapped in there, and if it has a friend, it has a friend. And so now is the tranking portion. Just pretty much shoot it with arrows. I did wait the duration of 4 to 5 seconds to let the torpor apply. It did end up getting really bloody, so I don't really know if I messed up by using a ascendant crossbow. I probably, if I were to do it again, would use a primitive or maybe a ramshackle or a apprentice or a journeyman, just to see the difference of damage per torpor, and I would definitely bring a magnifying glass to test that. I would definitely suggest using magnifying glass for tames. I've gone into the habit recently of using it. They are pretty effective, and it is good to know your ratio of torpor versus HP and the rate of your fire. So if I'm doing a lot of firing and then my torpor is really kind of low and my HP is already halfway, then I know that I'm going to kill the thing before the thing goes unconscious. Now, when you're underwater, I would suggest having another mount. As you see there, my screen is flashed from the torpor effect that I'm receiving for when I run out of food, and I do have Enduro Stew in case it gets too cold and I start dying from hypothermia. And so having that mount next to you will allow you to jump onto it and eat, because you cannot eat while in the water. So being on the mount, you can eat. You don't need to worry about water. You're in the water, so and evidently everything's fresh water, although we do see particles swimming, so I don't know how safe the water is to drink. Anyway, I would suggest the mount just so you could eat and use Enduro Stew if necessary, and to regain stamina. That can also be a thing if you're swimming around a lot. But I did end up shooting a lot of arrows at it. It did eventually end up going to sleep, and the friend right there, you just saw it pass out, and it's now out. So the friend, I opened up that door and then just pretty much pulled it out and let it do its own thing. I think I killed it, I'm not sure, but anyway, pulled it out of there, shut the gate, and then just went pretty much back inside, closed the gate, and then starved out the Moza. So the Moza, pretty decent stats. I'm happy with it. Wasn't really anything spectacular, but then again, it's a Moza. I ended up pumping the HP to 30,000, and the melee damage is around 300%, a little bit above that, I think. And so it does what I need to do, which pretty much is tank. And so now I'm just in the starving out process. and watching as it goes unconscious. So now here it is, fully starved and ready for the kibble. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the kibble inside after swimming around it, just to get a look of how amazing it is. I kind of do like the colors. It's very interesting. I really wish that blue one didn't die, although I wouldn't have been able to tame the 116 if the blue one did end up. So now that the kibble's in it, it's got pretty decent level gains. It's not going to go down very much since it is one of the higher quality tames. And yeah, so now we're just pretty much watching it as it consumes 140 plus kibble. Quetz kibble at that, which is quite difficult to make. You're going to need a lot of fiber, a lot of mijo berries, 3 prime per kibble. And then the main problem is the quetz eggs. So unless you have a large quetz farm, which entails a whole different other thing, a large place to store them, and that's just a whole nother thing if you have like 20 plus quetzals. Or like myself with around 8 to 9 quetzals, yeah, and farm them over a long period of time. So a Moza does take its time. I would actually say a Giga is much easier than a Moza. Just sheer fact, you're not going to need 150 plus kibble roughly per high level. So that's pretty insane considering a high level Giga is only going to take about half that. So you could tame 2 gigas per 1 Moza, and a Giga I feel is more effective late game wise for stuff. Now the Moza I didn't really need to. This is mostly just to tame, to make things not even easier, but just to add to what I already had, really. Because get plesios. If you're going underwater to kill alphas and to get pearls, plesios are where it's at for the most part. Now, it's not going to hurt to have a Moza and then plesios. That's even better. Your Moza could be the phase tank and do extra damage and just be awesome because they're awesome, and yeah. And so, but if you're just starting out in the water, I wouldn't really even go Megalodon. I would start with an Itchy, then go to plesio, just for the sheer fact that Spinos are a little bit harder to find, and Spinos themselves are a pain to tame. They really outweigh their usefulness. And again, you're going to be taming a Megalodon, which people like to say they're the Rex of the water, but a plesio really does it better, I feel. So, and the plesio just needs Rex kibble, and they're about, say, 40 minutes longer than a Megalodon to tame for a good level. And so what I did was just tamed up 4 plesios. They were all 100 plus, and they pretty much owned everything together. They were mate boosted with each other. And so I just lured them into my pen there the same way I did with the Moza, and yeah, tamed those up. And they did everything I needed to do. And so the Moza tame is just mostly to be even more awesome, because they're awesome. I've said that. And so yeah, and the Moza should almost be done. We're going to just look at it over time, swim next to some out, because yeah, you know what, just as he eats the kibble, might as well eat me too. Just show more love, you know, and it's more love. And so it's almost done now, and any second, 57 plus levels, and there we go. My first Moza. So I tuned out 173, throw in my saddle. I did end up upgrading the saddle to a Mastercraft. I bought it off of my ally tribe. And so let's just go ahead and take it out for a test drive. And boy, the feeling of riding a Moza is just awesome. It's almost the same feeling as riding the Giga, only without the knowledge that you could just wreck everything. Because again, my Moza's attack wasn't the best, but I did end up, as I said, pumping the HP to 30 K and the melee to about 300%. 300%, and it did pretty good. And so I named it Face Eater because, you know, it eats faces. I can't stop it for some reason. It just loves to eat faces. And so yeah, there it is in all of its glory. Quite something, I must say. I really liked how it tamed out. So it got decent melee, and HP is pretty good, and stamina's good, and the weight is good, so I like it. It was a really good tame. Take it up to the surface just to get a better view of him. And I kind of had a plan for what I was going to build on top, and then the need for what I was going to build was no longer necessary, and so I haven't really built anything on it, even to this day. So it kind of just sits there empty, but it's still a decent saddle, and why not? You could be on the surface of the water with it, and so it's pretty good. I think I might build something on it eventually. But yeah. There he is, in all of his glory. Pretty decent size. I'm sure if people saw them for the first time, they'll be like, oh my gosh, what's that? Don't eat me. And they'll be like, I'm sorry, it just lost faces. And so, yeah. And then we have the anglerfish, my nemesis of the water. These little guys do not care. Not a single care was given. They will swim up to any mount, no matter what the size, and no matter what the stats. And they'll be like, you know what? I could do it. And then you bite them once, and they're like, I changed mine. And then you eat their faces because they were fools. And so, yeah, this is me testing out the damage. It, again, nothing to really write home about. It does alright. It won't kill things in a single bite, but bite it enough and it'll go down. And considering the HP pool of your Moza, you could pretty much kill anything with it once leveled up a bit. But again, more is more, so I would suggest having your Moza plus your Plesio's that you probably should have had before the Moza, unless you guys are just crazy and try to do a Moza right off the bat. And so yeah, a Moza plus 4 Plesio's is pretty much king. Alpha Mozas were no longer an issue at all. Before, I kind of had to heal up between battles, but with the 5 of these guys, my Moza and 4 Plesies, they just wrecked shop. Alpha Mozas, I think the highest level I killed with these at the time was probably like 116, and it died in roughly about 5 minutes with maybe, I want to say 3k damage to my Mosa and little to no damage on my Plesios, so we're just pretty much swimming around. I would definitely suggest using the Mosa to tank the alphas, since that pretty much is its main purpose, and then have like massive damage dealers just swimming around behind it as in a Plesio or Megalodon if that's your choice. But yeah, it is quite a beast, and I'm gonna throw some points into melee, and then of course HP. Gotta get those HP. And so yeah, this is my Moza. Find a Megalodon to eat. I think I see one right there. Eat this guy real quick. Gotta eat his face. This poor Megalodon. It's about ready to lose its face. Face was delicious. Oh, and then Megalodon friend decided to show up, so there's that. So anyway, as soon as we eat this guy, what are you doing, buddy? Just gonna swim around? Yep, he's just like, yeah. Why do you do this? And so yeah, this has been my Megalodon taming. Wasn't that difficult. The pool is probably gonna be the hardest part. I would definitely suggest magnifying glass and watching how much damage you're doing per torpor. I did, as I said before, overshot a 104, but I guess that ended up working out for the best because I ended up getting this 116. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.